Welcome to This Explainer. I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you and I are stepping off a busy street and right into a grand, dimly lit museum. But the walls here, well, they aren't lined with ordinary artwork. They're covered in these vintage, moving paintings. It's like every single frame holds a surreal, dreamlike sequence, a late 19th century symbolist vision of a life you almost lived. As your guide through this kind of extraordinary gallery today, I invite you to just quiet your mind. Let's observe the heavy, mesmerizing nature of the choices we've made, and honestly, the choices we haven't. Today, we're exploring the architecture of unlived lives.
So take a close look at this question. It plunges us directly into this surreal dreamscape. When we think about our past, the deeper question really isn't simply, well, what if I had chosen differently? The truly haunting inquiry, the one that kind of shadows us like a phantom moving through these paintings, is this: how much of who I am today exists because of the paths I didn't take? I mean, our identity is carved just as much by the doors we've walked past, right? Not just the ones we've actually walked through.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're stepping right through the frame of our first canvas and into a philosophical gallery of the mind. The architecture of your unlived lives is calling. It's an intricate, completely invisible structure built entirely out of the ghosts of our alternate decisions. Think of it like this. Every room in this massive structure is a life that could have been, just beautifully preserved in the amber of our imagination. Section 1. The Architecture of Regret. Building the alternate self. Let's step into the first wing of our exhibition. As we walk through this space, you'll see the core elements that construct our anxiety over those perfect lives we didn't choose. At its foundation, well, it's about regret. But layered right on top of that is possibility, the shimmering mirage of alternate lives. It's deeply intertwined with our identity, forged in the fires of choice, and forever suspended in this dense fog of uncertainty. These abstract concepts, they're the heavy brushstrokes that paint the anxious longing we sometimes feel for a path we never walked down. Section 2. Philosophers of the Unchosen. Framing the existential dread. Moving deeper, we're passing through a portal into the 19th century wing of our gallery. We begin here with the foundations laid by the philosopher Søren Kierkegaard. He wrote extensively about choice and possibility, and he famously stated, "Marry and you'll regret it. Don't marry and you'll regret it too." I know, thanks for the uplifting advice, Søren. But at first glance, while this sounds incredibly bleak, actually, Kierkegaard wasn't just being pessimistic. He was illustrating a really profound truth. The anxiety isn't necessarily in the act of choosing itself. The true anxiety comes from the realization that every single choice closes countless other doors. The dread is literally about losing the lives that could have been. Let's move over to our next canvas and see how this builds. Here we find the heavy, definitive strokes of Jean-Paul Sartre. Now, Sartre believed that we literally become what we choose. Every decision you make is not just an event. It's a loud declaration to the universe, saying, "This is the person I will become." You are not choosing actions. You are choosing identities. When you choose one path, you are simultaneously deciding to let another version of yourself entirely cease to exist. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the branching timelines mapped out here. This perfectly illustrates a recurring theme in the work of writer Jorge Luis Borges. Look at moment 1, a choice is made. Instantly, at moment 2, countless possible versions of ourselves just disappear into the shadows, gone forever. By moment 3, the lived life continues, but only on one single branch. The life you live is just one branch of an infinitely massive tree. It's a wildly surreal thought, isn't it? That at every single moment, countless alternate versions of you are just vanishing into thin air. Section 3. The Science of What If, the brain's simulation room. Let's step out of the philosophical wing and into the modern psychology wing of our explainer. So behind all this heavy existential dread lies a deeply ingrained neurological mechanic known as counterfactual thinking. And this is basically the human brain's natural tendency to create alternate scenarios and generate what-if narratives. Your brain is quite literally a simulation engine. It constantly projects alternate realities, kind of like a projector casting moving surrealist films onto the back of your eyelids. Sometimes, the brain runs these simulations for learning, to help us make better decisions next time. But other times, it runs them purely for regret, usually at 3 a.m. when you're just desperately trying to get some sleep. And these simulations, they manifest as those deeply familiar, haunting questions that branch out like overgrown vines. What if I took that job? What if I stayed in that relationship? What if I moved away? What if I never quit?
I just want you to let those questions hang there for a second. Notice how each one feels like an overwhelming, divergent path in a dark forest. They pull at us because our minds are just incredibly adept at illustrating these alternate realities with striking, vibrant detail. Section 4, The Illusion of Perfection. The Flawless, Unlived Life. As we approach the climax of our gallery tour, we arrive at this totally fascinating exhibit. And this brilliantly illustrates the main conflict we face when looking at those moving paintings of our alternate selves. We're contrasting reality against the unlived life. Now, reality is grounded, it's heavy. Every real road contains sacrifices, disappointments, unexpected problems. But the unlived life, we only ever see the benefits. It is entirely idealized because it never actually had to face the friction of existence. The unlived life often appears completely flawless and airy simply because it never had the chance to become real. The life you didn't choose cannot disappoint you. Section 5. Reality versus Imagination, the Final Frame. Let's step through this final portal and confront the ultimate realization of our journey. So, the crucial point is this: deep realization painted right before us. Reality always feels imperfect, while possibility feels flawless. The alternate path you envision isn't a real place. It's a beautifully curated painting where none of the messy, painful strokes of daily existence were ever applied. Possibility is flawless because it remains perfectly empty. It's just waiting for you to project your greatest desires right onto it.
Which leaves us lingering on this deeply introspective question. This is a core philosophical challenge for you to project onto the blank canvas of your own mind. Are you actually grieving a better life, or are you simply grieving possibilities that never became real? When you feel that familiar ache for the path untaken, it is absolutely vital to recognize whether you are longing for a genuine alternate reality or if you're just mourning the beautiful, painless illusion of potential. We conclude our explainer with this final, profound thought. The path you didn't take will always seem clearer than the one you're walking. Because one exists in reality, the other exists only in imagination. As the surreal, moving paintings of this gallery slowly fade out into the darkness, I want to leave you with that reflection. The messy, complicated, imperfect life you are living right now, that is the one that has the courage to exist. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the architecture of your unlived lives. Until next time, keep exploring the gallery of your mind.